Here's a hard truth you didn't know you needed. Deep down, you know you don't have any control over reality. So you talk to yourself and really listen to that voice in your head that seemingly gives you control. But deep down, you know that that's a lie. And that's what we're going to talk about in this video. How, yes, changing your thoughts and saying affirmations and doing self talk, it'll give you your manifestation. But at what cost? I'm Beyond Taylor, and I am here to help you go beyond your self-imposed limitations. So this video came about because I was thinking about all the advice that you hear in the conscious manifestation world, conscious creation world, to talk to yourself so you can align with the reality that you want to experience. But you guys know that I come from the non-dual background, and talking to yourself is actually what creates the suffering, because reality just is. Reality was before we labeled it. The labeling is just what creates components and separation, but without the mind's interpretation of what's happening in reality, it would still exist. So, how true is it that thoughts are shifting reality? Like, self talk is what's going to get us to our desires, to our manifestations. It's true, right? Don't get me wrong. However, it's still very surface level. And I talked about this in the robotic affirming, like ditch robotic affirming, try this instead. Because, yeah, like talking to yourself, if you think about something enough, you'll focus on it. Where attention goes, energy flows. But at what cost? What are you paying for by being so attached to your inner voice? I'll tell you, you're paying for misalignment with the present moment. You're paying for with like missed opportunities. You're paying for it with having this fixed idea about reality, and you're paying for it with having this false sense of control. Most people have a hard time giving over autonomy because to not have control is scary. It's riding into this unknown. However, in the unknown is where you'll find everything that you desire, but you can't see that because you're so attached to the voice in your head. So in this video, we're going to talk about how to become the witness of the voice in your head and not become so attached to it, how to exist in the paradox of not having any control really, and believing that you do, and what to do with this false sense of control, and how to be okay with not knowing, right? Be okay with existing in this void. So most of you are control freaks. That's why your anxiety is so bad, because you're trying to control the outcome. You love videos that say learn how to control your life, learn how to control this person, control this circumstance. You love videos like that because you desire to control everything, because deep down you know that you have no control. So that's why you try so hard to control it, because you want to stuff this fear of this knowing that you have, that it's all happening on its own. It's all just one big happening. Because that's what reality is. Reality is just one big happening. It's not anybody that's doing it. You're not doing it. It's doing itself. It really is doing itself. And that's why I say, when you look into reality, without your labeling of what anything is, it's still going to exist. If you didn't have a name or a storyline, a narrative about yourself, it would still be there. But the name and the storyline and all the things that go into that, it just creates this localized self with an identity, and that's just a belief. It's just a belief that is rising and falling in this unified field of consciousness that we all share, that all objects share. But as soon as an object has like self-awareness and has a thought and believes itself to be something other than the rest of reality, then all of a sudden it takes these thoughts super serious, and it feels like these thoughts are the ones that's like pushing reality around, when that's just not the case. If anything, the thoughts are creating the subjective lens through which we see reality. Which is why, when people say there are no others, right? Everyone is just you pushed out. It's not because other people don't exist. It's because you can't see others. You literally only see yourself. Because everything you see, you're seeing it through the subjective lens of all of your beliefs, ideas, genetic codes. There's literally no way for you to see the world through an objective lens. Even when you are dropping the self, and by dropping the self, I just mean being like seeing through the veil, like being able to see that this is just one layer of reality. The fact that I'm a separate self with all these ideas, beliefs, perceptions, that's one layer. If you go a step further than that, another layer is that I'm just the awareness. Like, and to even say that I'm just the awareness is going too far. There's just awareness. Awareness is aware of this person pretending, not pretending, but this person having an individualized experience. Reality is just happening, and that there's just this layer that seems as if there's an individual controlling things, but really you're just seeing things through a subjective lens. But other than that, reality is happening on its own, and you know this intuitively, the same way your heart is just beating. You're breathing, your hair is growing, your nails are growing. When you get a wound, it heals itself. I got cut the other day. It looks nasty. I had the bandage on, but it came off. But it's healing itself. I mean, I had to go get stitches, but even with the stitches, it's just aiding the process of the healing that is happening on its own. So, um, there's this intuitive knowing that it's all just happening the same way all these other functions are just happening. But this I thought, this I am thought, is terrified of that, because if it's all just happening, then it's trying to find its place in it. Like, well, what am I here for, right? Especially because society have really ingrained this belief that we are these I thoughts, which is for good reason, right? I'm not knocking that, and every time I make a videos, I'm never knocking the fact that like separation is here. Separation is beautiful because it allows us to interact with different aspects of the self, and it allows us to feel this sense of autonomy and feel this sense of being a person and different, and that's beautiful. So there's nothing wrong with this sense of separation. It's just the not being able to see that it's an illusion that creates an immense amount of suffering in you. You can't see through the illusion, so you try to do everything you can to control reality so that you can feel safe, because you're looking for the sense of safety, because you know that you have an end date, right? This separate self knows that it's going to die. It knows that it has an end date, and it's doing everything it can to like control circumstances, to control reality, so that it can feel okay. Where really it's the thought that you're separate and that you have to do all that that's responsible for you not feeling okay anyway. And if you could just learn how to drop that and just go into simply witnessing what the separate self is doing, witnessing the activity of the separate self, you will find so much peace in that, because that is peace. The peace is in the not being attached to anything that changes, anything that comes and goes, and that's all of experiences, thoughts, sensations, feelings, perceptions. They all change, but what witnesses them, what is the perceiver and the observer, that's very stable. It's never changing. So this is actually what you want. You just gotta learn how to let go, and that's what we're gonna get into, is how to let go. So let's. The way you let go of this sense of separation is by recognizing that it's actually not happening, or recognizing like the patterns, recognizing how this aspect of yourself is constantly calling your attention, but it doesn't change reality. So when you look at reality, notice how your thoughts change the perception of how you view it, but it's not changing anything in reality. It's literally just creating a filter. So the more that you can see that, the easier it becomes to not become so identified with the mind. It's best to do it when you wake up in the morning. When you wake up in the morning, notice that your mind is like gonna start going. Like when you first wake up, you have this brief period of like silence. Like you're waking up, you're coming into, and then your mind starts to go. So notice that space right before the mind starts to go. And notice how you're alive, you exist, reality is good. But then the mind comes up and starts to, oh, we got to do this, we got to do this. Hope today goes well, whatever, right? It just starts to go. Stay in that space of right before the mind started talking. Just stay there. Stay, and then notice the gaps in between thoughts. Continuously notice that. This is going to allow the gaps to become louder, because right now we're so focused on what moves in reality, what changes, what makes noise, what calls our attention, that we miss out on the silence. We miss out on the background of reality. And this is interesting to you. I have a group membership that's coming out in 2 days. It's going to be group coaching setting. Sign up for the waitlist down below if you're one of the first people to know about it. The first 10 people get locked in at $37 a month. The membership is going to be $47 a month. It's going to be amazing. You're going to be surrounded by people who jive with this type of conversation. So if that's interesting to you, sign up for the waitlist down below. Or if you're seeing this after, then it's live, and sign up because we're waiting for you. Okay, a little bit of promo. But anyways, back to the video. Just notice the gaps in between reality. The silence is going to become much louder than the noise. And in that, you'll find that this is actually what you want out of life. This is actually what you want from your desires, from your manifestations. You crave this peace. You crave this stability that you think your desires are going to bring you, but they're not, because one thing about life is that it's going to change. So don't place your stock in what changes. Don't place your don't gamble on this. Don't bet on what changes. Put all your money in this stable, unchanging, infinitely present nature that you always have access to. You've just forgotten about it. And this aspect of yourself is taking care of everything all the time. It's responsible for the sun rising and setting. It's responsible for the grass growing. It's responsible for the wind blowing. It's responsible for your kitty. I'm looking at my cat. It's responsible for her heart beating. It's responsible for everybody's hearts beating, right? This energy is what allows me to see. I don't have to turn on the switch to get myself to see, to get myself to hear, to get myself to speak. It feels as if there's an individual that's doing it, but that's just a thought. It's really just happening very automatically, and it's in that surrendering to this presence, to the silence behind all experience, that this becomes more apparent. So just start to notice the gaps in between your thoughts, the gaps in between experiences that you have. Meditate. In meditation, this becomes very apparent to you. Practice mindfulness, right? Come more into your reality and get out of your head, and this will also become way more apparent to you. This will make way more sense to you. Surrender. Give up this idea of control. I promise you that this force that's been taking care of you, that's been growing you, that's been responsible for all the shifts that you see, knows how to take care of you better than you know how to take care of yourself. And I feel like for a lot of you, you have a hard time with that. You're like, no, it doesn't. What if it doesn't give me what I want? Like, I want this thing. And by self-talk and by like making sure I have my thoughts in alignment, and I know I teach this too, and I'll get into the paradoxical nature of it, but you're like, by having my thoughts on what I want, I'll be able to get it. If I don't have my thoughts on what I want, then my thoughts will be too chaotic, and then it's my focus will be too chaotic, and then I won't get what I want. Yes, but again, at what cost? Because by doing this, it works, but there's still just so much attachment to this voice in your mind, and there's so much like stock in that this is who you are, and that you like have this full control over things, when that's just not the case. And that's exhausting. Why would you want to have, would you want to be able to like eat food and then have to like figure out how to digest it? Would you want that much control? No, you don't even want that. You want the freedom that comes from allowing it all to happen. But then there's this sense of you which is responsible for the I'm separate and I'm here as a localized self. There's a sense of you that wants to feel like you are controlling your destiny, that you are controlling your fate, that you have free will. And I get it. I'm here with you because it feels that way. So why not play into it? But you gotta play into it in this loose way. Like, I feel like constantly trying to control your thoughts is not in a loose way. It's very controlling. It's very possessive over this experience, and it creates a lot of suffering because you don't control it. Unfortunately, fortunately, because how much freaking work would that be, right? There's something that's much bigger than you, which is you, that's doing it all. Okay, so how do we go into this paradoxical relationship? Surrendering, like we just talked about, and recognizing that you are a receiver, right? You are like a signal. So based on your frequency, because all that matters. So based on your frequency, which is like your emotional state, that's going to determine what thoughts are being signaled to you. So that allows you to take the control off of, I gotta think positively. I gotta make sure my thoughts are aligned. I gotta do this. I gotta affirm, and just get into the vibration, get into alignment with the feeling that is one of peace and gratitude and love and abundance and wholeness. Get into alignment with that feeling. And you do that by recognizing your true nature, like we just talked about, because that your true nature is the feelings that you're seeking. It is at peace. It is fulfilled. It is abundant. It is love. The only reason why you think you're not is because you think. Is because you have these thoughts. You look into reality. You see what you don't have, and you have so much stock into. You have so much belief into this idea that you are these thoughts in this separate self. That, like, of course it's true. I don't have it. Of course, and it's like, if you could just take your attention off of those thoughts and put your attention into the silence in between thoughts, into the present moment, you'll see that that's just not true. What could you ever lack when you go into the silence? It's complete like it's complete wholeness, it's complete fulfillment, it's complete just acceptance and enoughness and worthiness, because there's no thoughts to tell you otherwise. So by constantly recognizing that you put yourself into this vibration, the highest vibration, you're in alignment, and from there you're getting signaled these thoughts. You're getting signaled the ideas about what to do, about where to go, and again, this it's gonna get sent to you exactly what you want. And it may not look how you've imagined it, because maybe you're imagining it from this place of being a separate self and from this place of, I need in order to feel. But once you feel, the thoughts that come in are, this is just an expression of this feeling. It becomes a pure expression of the feeling. So it's just a much more beautiful way to go about conscious creation, manifestation, rather than trying to like constantly control your thoughts. And I see people do it very well, and I've even done it, and it works out very well. Don't get me wrong. Affirming, thinking the best, reprogramming the subconscious mind. I'm not to say that it's not to say that all these things don't have a place. However, they are just like the backbone. If you don't have this as a foundation of recognizing yourself as the awareness, as the observer, as the witness of this false separate identity, you're going to suffer even when you get the things. You're gonna suffer even when, and I know you've experienced this. Life has gotten really good, and there was still suffering, right? Everything was working out for you, and you were not happy. You were making the most money you ever made, and you were still suffering. And that's because you were looking at these objects to bring you this feeling that you already had access to. It was just that the thoughts were covering it. Your attachment to the thoughts was just covering this feeling that you already have access to. So you don't need to search for it. You don't need to look for it. You have it. Just recognize the space in between thoughts. Get out of your head. Don't think your way into your reality. Feel your way into your reality, and don't even try to shift your attention to feel your way into your reality. Recognize who you are. Remember who you are. And from this remembering, from this recognition, you become in alignment with it. You vibrate on the same frequency of it. You become it. And then from there, now you can go into the work, right? And it's all happening anyway. It's not even really you that's doing you're really just witnessing the character doing it. But there's no suffering. It's more of a play. You can watch it like a movie setting, right? The work doesn't feel so daunting. You're not healing. It's just what the character is doing. So the character will go into like reprogramming the subconscious mind, like doing these different activities, working with its triggers, working with, the things that set it off. The character is going to do all that. But you are not the character. You're just witnessing the character, but you are also the character, right? Because there is no separation. There is no dualism. It's all one thing. But you're like wholeheartedly embodying this paradox, and from there, pain still exists because you live in duality, because that's just polarity. But there's no attachment to it. The emotion of pain comes. It's just a sensation that rises and falls in what you are, and then it goes away, and then you're right back to whatever the next event is. And all events can just come and go. They have space to just be, and there's just no attachment to anything. And this is what you want. This is what you think your manifestations are going to bring you, when really you already have access to it and you don't need anything to change in order to have access to this. And because you don't need anything to change, everything will change. So that's all I got. I love you guys.